All right, I wrote this little poem, and I would like to share it. It reads as follows. I miss my little fella, like a restaurant misses its chef. We're nothing without you, pinball party without meth.
Gay.
God damn it.
What?
You can't say that.
Stop trying to put it in my robot hole.
I'm not trying to
Gross.
put it in your robot hole, man.
I don't want you inside me. Disgusting.
I hate you, but I love you at the same time.
You want to suck me?
I do not.
Yeah, you do.
Let me be crystal clear. I do not want to suck you. While I do miss you, your terribleness and all,
I missed you too.
I do not, in fact, wish to suck you. Thank you, Meph, for ruining the last 50 seconds of my life. And to everyone else, welcome back to the Pinball Party Podcast.
Fuck.
Welcome back. Back to doing this for the reason of doing it, making fun audio, talking about pinball. No more media stuff. I'm over it, healthily. So, let's have this theme song back. Shall we? It's so good. Okay, I have this backlog of things from listeners who have written in, a smorgasbord of catching up to do on everything. Again, to all the patron subscribers, a big thank you. To the continued listenership, thank you. And to all those who wrote in after last week saying, aw, or pity party. Yeah, I didn't need a pity party. I was just, doing the thing, hitting record, being honest. And Stern reached out as well, actually, a couple from them. And just to say, hey, we're actually huge fans of the show. Have been listeners since the very beginning. And that meant a lot to hear it. So, let's just keep going and see where this party takes us. To all of those media content creators who did go, I did not mean when I talked about this last week to insinuate that you are all or any of you are shills. And I know a couple reached out, and I apologize. That was my bad, the way I framed it, as in here's me saying, hey, I'm trying to lift up and do this stuff with people, yet at the same time I'm ostracizing it. That was hypocritical on my part. And for what it's worth, especially Jason, Erica, Ian, Kale, Rachel, the people who I do know who are on the list of this, I consider friends, or at least very much friendly into this content. So I totally understand if I had burned a bridge or two or anything by saying what I said. Hopefully I did not do irreparable damage, but I really just wanted to say publicly to those, that was not my intention. And I was really trying to just say from my point of view how it affected me. So really just trying to double down. I know I did respond to a couple of you. But hey, at the end of the day, I chose to record and release that. So any of that fallout is my own fault. Before I go any further, though, can I say thank you again for letting me say this? We have a fantastic community member, and he runs a place called North Star Pinball Collective in Savage, Minnesota. For those who know, I'm located in Wisconsin. Minnesota is a sibling of our state, and this area is very close, and the area I go when I need to play pinball machines, the newer stuff. So in Savage, Minnesota, you can find North Star Pinball Collective. They have 54 games ranging from the early 70s EMs to modern Sterns and everything you'd want. They have it set up for $20 all you can play. They have tournaments every Sunday and every other Thursday, and you don't have to participate if you want to just come and play the games. They also have monthly special events, bigger tournaments quarterly, and you can find them on Facebook. It's called North Star Pinball Collective. They have a lot of games that you won't find at Lit is great and Bad Penny. They're all great, but if you want to find some more rarities, I would highly recommend going to check out North Star Pinball Collective. Big fan of the show, great member of the community. Go check it out. If you're in the area or, my distance, 1 to 2 hours away, go check out North Star Pinball Collective in Savage, Minnesota. Another friend of the show, wrote in something, I guess I say this last time, and then Stern reaches out, hey, we're big fans of the show. Like, oh, okay, well, I mean, again, this is just feedback from the listeners or about pinball. So, talking about Stern support, which isn't great, to put it PC all the time, or, some of the things that the community sees as opportunities to improve the dog shit support. Okay, again, it's armchair quarterbacking. It is difficult what Stern does, of course. I mean, or JJP or Spooky. To say that a fan of pinball suddenly means I'm an expert or us as a community are expert in how they should do business, that's easy to say. Much tougher to do. So all of this is said with, and I assume from the listener, of we love the hobby. These are things we want to see improved just because we want it to keep going. And that's what it is. So please take it at that value. The same way people review or talk shit about sports teams and that fucking quarterback. That's about as far as I can go because I don't watch sports and I don't like them. But so I know the term quarterback and football. So thank you. Or when you're reviewing a game, those developers use these 3D assets. Why wouldn't they use the Unreal Engine? All this shit. So that being said, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But from afar, things that we would like to see is the vein of this message. I'll just say this message comes from Pickle. Some very small items to fix that seem obvious. Get the damn accessories out the door day one, especially expression lights. Reduce the insane topper prices so topper people don't feel like they are getting raped twice. Yeah. Fix your fucking tech support so you actually have a ticketing system. They don't even create tickets. It's just email. From the outside, it feels like there is one shared computer with Outlook on it at Stern that all tech support emails go to die. Actually provide some real tech support. I agree with that. Hence why I'm reading it. And yes, it's saying it like that or being, light and somewhat humorous about it, but it's true. And here is a listener mail. This one is long, but I'm going to read it because, well, I actually like really long emails. I mean, you can write in and say, great job, great show. I appreciate it, and whatever, but here we go. So strap in, strap on. Hey, Jason, just wanted to reach out and say another great podcast and share some thoughts if you're bored. Well, I was bored when he sent this, so here we go. Don't want to come off as a creeper. That's a good start, because guess what? No, don't want to come off as a creeper, but seems like we share similar behaviors in regards to pinball and some other things. What I mean is, the one podcast you had where you mentioned that you get super focused on certain things if you are motivated, while there are times where you just don't care, I do that as well. It's like I'm in my own world when I'm focused/obsessed on something, whether it's work, looking for new pinball, restoring, etc., and then sometimes I just could care less if I'm not in the mindset. Hope that makes sense, just to confirm I'm not the only one. It absolutely makes sense. And he keeps going. The other thing is in regards to pinball. I got into the hobby of owning them back in 2015 with my Grail Funhouse. Ooh, good timing. And thought that would be it. Then 3 months later, we got a Taxi, wife's favorite, and then I sold it and bought it back. Yeah, I know that drill. And well, the rest is history. I kind of got out of buying and pinside for a while, didn't play much, then got back in, got an MMR and Metallica Pro, then did the same thing for a few years. Then I went full in and overboard about 2 years ago with buying and selling and trying out a lot of machines, now keeping up with everything. I've tried other hobbies and just keep coming back to pinball as it involves a lot of things I like, tinkering. Every game is different, electronics, mechanical programming, etc. I got in near the end where you could buy a machine and if you didn't like it, could sell it and maybe lose just a few $100. But now, OMG, the bubble sure has burst and now it's like buying a car of sorts. My area is very sparse, and usually I have to travel 5+ hours to play anything latest, as well as there are hardly any for sale that aren't at least 5+ hours away, so I end up buying new in box if I think the game is just based... New in box if I think I like the game just based on gameplay, reviews, picks, rule sheets, etc. That wasn't a problem in the past, but now I really have to make sure all the checkboxes are checked on a game, theme, gameplay, etc. And it seems like anything I buy now has to be a keeper, as I just can't afford, I think literally and figuratively, to repeatedly lost so much unless it's a keeper, then I don't care. That's one of my main factors that allowed me to get into this hobby, the ability to sell them for not much loss. I don't ever spend what we don't have, so like you, I'm at a crossroads on whether I can or will continue this hobby. in the terms of adding new machines to my collection, as often I was or just be happy with what I got, but all machines eventually get old. I've even thought about, quote, is it worth it, quote, as I do sometimes stress out myself and tell myself that this hobby is fun. That sucks you didn't get invited to the... Okay, let's not get into that. Thank you for writing in. And yeah, a lot of things there because it's so similar. One, the history of this hobby being you can get into it and it really captures all of your senses. You know, from a lot of us are into tech, whether it's mechanical engineering or software engineering or audio engineering or visual editing. Is it video engineering? What is that? What is that called? I'm stupid. It encompasses a lot, and you're playing a game. When you're playing it, it keeps your attention because you have to be, dedicated to the ball and the physics of everything. You have to do a lot of like little calculations in your head, which keeps a lot of us who are, let's say, I don't mean to say this, but like ADHD inclined or in that. But a lot of us are very intelligent, and and with that can be a double-edged sword in a way. And pinball keeps our attention the same way like racing a car does. If you just have to pay attention. So I empathize with a lot of that, which is why pinball is such like it's not an addiction, but it's close. And then you toss in a theme that you feel like one with, or this theme, I identify with it. You toss that into it and holy shit, you buy it, you sell it, you buy it and sell it because they get bored, but then you get pulled back in because you want it and you need it. And it can be nasty. And on the other point, that the prices lately are going down so fast that it's like we don't know where the bottom is. And I almost hesitate to say that because myself, who doesn't want to stop the hobby, I don't want to like keep spreading that like, hey, prices are going down, so like let's get scared and have them keep going down and we're all fucked. Because I don't want them to, but at the same time, it's the reality. And I'm not the only one that sees it. A lot of people out there are seeing the same thing. And, when it's that hard to sell Jaws, the newest, hottest game, without taking a severe loss, I hope it's just the summer slump that does happen every year. But this one smells different. But eventually it'll level off. It'll get to a point where everyone will buy a game at some price. Just don't know how low that really goes. And when he was talking about buying new games because you don't have to travel 5+ hours, which I, again, empathize with completely. He's buying them off of reviews and if they look great and all that. So that, to me, is the most crucial thing, him buying games based on reviews and all that. Neutral reviews are so important, I should say, unbiased. Without, any sort of hidden intention. Granted, anyone who does media, including myself, there is some want for attention. We're not going to lie. I don't like the attention per se in a lot of ways, but I also do like the notoriety for effort. So it's this kind of strange thing. That being said, neutral reviews are so good for the hobby because let's say if everyone just says every game is great and someone like, Pinball Eddie from Pinside, who wrote in saying all this, buys games based on someone who says, oh, this game's great. And then he gets burned. Like, no, Led Zeppelin Pro is not great. Okay, I lost money. Next time you listen to the same reviewer. Yeah, it's all great. I bought it again. It got burned again. Well, then you're going to stop trusting said reviewer. I'm really not pointing anyone out. Just saying the general consensus of saying all pinball is great is not good for anyone. It burns hobbyists who buy them because then they don't trust reviews. Then they get resentful and then they slowly stop. They won't trust that the companies are. So if everyone says that the games are great, then the company's like, oh, all the games are great. And then all the people on Pinside who are negative, they're just negative Nancy's. There's a balancing act of if we just say that some games are bad, creators have to try to take it with a grain of salt, as in it's not personal. I've written some shitty fucking songs, and I have people I trust who are close to me who I can take it from who are like, yo, Jason, this song is just shit. It doesn't always feel good, but after a while, like, okay, you trust that, like, all right, this person also equally says knows when dude, that's a banger. That is a fucking hit. That song is great. Okay, then I trust that as well. It means you start to align, I'm saying for myself or Stern or JJP, The reviews with trusted reviewers that over time you can just have faith in them. Then people will know. There's always ups and downs in games. There's always pros and cons to games. But when people can trust that, you know what to do with your money or your time, and you get more confident in the hobby. It's still a fact, though, that this hobby is small enough, and the people who make the games actually really want to. There's not many people that go to college to be, I'm going to be a pinball creator, and then they get into it and like, oh, it's just my 9-to-5 job. Just going working at pinball. Maybe on the factory floor, sure. But I mean, a Ray Day or a Jack Danger or a Gomez or a Gary Stern, they have to want to do it. So at the same time, I get that when someone says a game is bad, I mean, it's defeating, right? It doesn't feel great. It's like, well, you put in all this effort and you're not getting recognized for it. Yeah, it's the name of the game. It is what it is. And yeah. So thank you for writing in. Thank you for the long email, and thanks for an opportunity to pick apart a couple of those things. Oh, and then a quick shout out to Loser Kid who wrote in, said hello. Hey guys, we should do something sometime soon. I know we've communicated in the past, just never lined up, but sometimes I forget to reply to some of the pinball party emails, so I'm trying to just go through and anything I forgot, say hello, and yeah. And another quick rumored games. I was mentioning rumored games. I don't know. It could have been in 2022, but here we go. This comes from Brian. I agree with you about a Mario theme being great. I personally would prefer it to be Super Mario World for SNES over the original Mario Bros. For NES. I would find the money for it if it included Yoshi, Star World, key exits, multiple exits for red dots level. Oh God, he's speaking my language. For those who know Super Mario World, you know what he's talking about. All the other upcoming rumored games don't really do it for me. I would strongly consider Ghostbusters, though, if it was announced this year. Great pod, and try not to look at these as investments. They are just overpriced fun. That is how I justify when I selectively purchase one, because I am not made of money either. Thank you, Brian. And yeah, no, I never look at them as investments. I think a few people did as LEs during COVID, but that was a small blip in the radar. But yeah, Super Mario, I think if they did a Super Mario game, it all depends on what Nintendo is doing with their license currently with Super Mario and what their aim is. For a while it was the new Super Mario Brothers, which was fine for a little bit, but then it just got played. That pun, you know how that works. But yeah, I think if you did Super Mario Brothers All-Stars, but did the one with Super Mario World, but if you just called it Super Mario Brothers All-Stars and concentrated on the first 3 for NES and Super Mario World, take my money. Charge $13,000 for an LE. Put Star World in there. Expression lights. Holy shit, that thing would be an absolute killer. All right, got another one here. Oh, this one meant a lot. Yeah, you know who you are. Hi, Jason. I'm just a pinhead that wanted to say thanks for your awesome work and podcast. I have young onset Parkinson's disease, and your show always keeps me laughing during my physical therapy. Keep it up, and thanks for being such an entertaining and positive voice in our hobby. Respectfully, and all my best. Yeah, thank you so much, and that means more than anything. So I guess apologize. Sorry, I don't know. It sucks you're dealing with that. I know. I've messaged him, and he knows that as well. I mean, I wish this podcast could do more than just entertain you. I hope it could help. I hope it helps heal, at least figuratively in the head. I'll do what I can. So you're welcome for using the fuck theme song today. Hopefully that put a little get up in your step. All right. So thank you for people that write it. That's not all of them. I wanted to select a few because I've just been neglecting a lot of it. I try to respond to what I can, but such is life. All right. Another thing we talked about a couple months ago was some theme ideas, pinball theme ideas, free for Jersey Jack or Spooky or Stern. You might remember such games as Drywall or we did Penis for a while. That's more of like an actual, like we have rights to that. That's a game we're working on called Stern's Penis. But going to TJ Maxx with the wife was another one. You remember. So I have a couple other written down that I just wanted to pitch out there. I know we have rumors of upcoming Metallica and maybe a Ghostbusters remake and all that kind of stuff, but I think these are bangers. So just a quick 4 here. 1, Dawn's dish soap. If any of you have tried other dish soap, or like, oh, let's try this organic green shit. Dawn's dish soap cuts through grime like you wouldn't believe. And you would believe it because you all fucking use it. And then you go back to it when you try something else. But if you have a big blue pinball machine, that big Dawn's dish soap, you know what people aren't going to think? That machine has like COVID germs all over it. Or like there's poop on it. Nah, it's not going to survive on a Dawn's dish soap machine. I have no ideas for the actual gameplay other than like the theme is slippery, you know? Or overkill for hand soap. That's probably a mode. Or like soak time. There's another mode. Anyway, you get it. Dawn's dish soap. It's fine. It's a fine idea. It's better than Wick, probably. All right, another one, Windows Vista. We all know, one of the best operating systems of all time, Windows Vista. So the game, well, this would have to be, all right, if we're being real, this game would probably have to be made by American Pinball or Spooky because it wouldn't always really work that great. So Stern, if you want a Windows machine, Windows 3.1, 95, or Windows 10. Stick to those. Windows 7, sure, why not? Windows Vista, much cheaper of a license. Let's, yeah. Okay, another one. This theme is anxiously awaiting medical results. You go in, the older we get, and you're like, oh, what's this itch, or what's that lump on my face, or why is my dick on the ground? Why do my balls fall off? They check and they do some tests, and then, you're waiting for a couple days for me, Mayo, like the portal, like, oh my fucking God, I know I have cancer. Of course I have cancer. All these, and you're just nervous as shit. And then you see the email notification, like new test results, like, oh my fucking God. Oh, I gotta open this thing. I'm gonna look at my blood levels. Oh my God. And then you're fine. Oh, okay. I'm fine. Or you're not. And that one doesn't feel great. The second one as much. But I mean, it's part of the game. It's kind of like that Jaws mode where like some of the shots give you points, other ones take them away, or like when the Gollum multi-ball mode, So it's got pros and cons to it, So anxiously awaiting medical results. It's a pretty great pinball theme. And then one last one, pre-shit pants. So you're going to inevitably shit your pants. I mean, a lot of you. These ones come pre-shit instead of, like pre-worn jeans, or, they're faded. They got the knees kind of ripped, or you got the thumb holes in a hoodie. These pants are already shat in. Not real shit, but they simulate shit. So that they're brown on the back and they're kind of like slightly, moist looking. It's fake, and they fucking stink. These pants smell terrible. So, I mean, that's the theme. It's pre-shit pants, there's corn pants, there's Rhea pants, there's solid pants, there's the Bristol stool, there's a number 4 pant, whatever you want. Pre-shit pants, maybe we'll partner with Levi's or, whatever. But yeah, pre-shit pants. There's 4 for you. Dawn's dish soap, Windows Vista, anxiously awaiting medical results, pre-shit pants. Those will sell better than Wick and Venom, probably. Just a quick side note. I pissed in the bathroom sink yesterday. So, have any of you done that? I've done it more than once. I do it probably once a year just to kind of feel alive. Because it's right there. And as long as you can manage your pressure in your stream, I mean, what are you harming? Why not? You pee in the toilet how many times a day? Let's say 5 times a day your whole life. That shit gets boring after a while. You got such a large hole to aim for. It's really not a challenge. So a pinball party challenge and encouragement, pee in a sink. Do it in your bathroom. If you want to get risque, do it in the kitchen sink. Really, yeah, it's piss. But just turn on, the faucet, wash it down. I'm just saying, I've done it more than once for a reason, because you kind of feel like, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this. And it's a simple little rebellious thing you can do at home. And it's not really causing any harm. You're not going to get cancer from it. You're not going to get fired. So yeah, piss in the sink. Let me know what you think. Ooh, that rhymed. If I've full disclosure, I've never shit in the sink. And I never will. I've thought of it. Not that I might, but I'm like, will this translate? So if you want, please, if you do, please just email into pinballpartypodcast@gmail.com. Just say I did it. You don't have to say anything else. If you want to, go for it. But just those 3 words, I did it. And I will be severely proud of you. And I think you'll be proud of yourself. You do it once, you open up kind of a whole new world. And if there was one pinball company that I think would pee in the sink because they keep things real, they're adventurous, they know what people want, this doesn't work well, and I apologize for the transition. However, if anyone is out there wondering where to buy your pinball machines, yes, you could go to crappy dealers. Yes, you could pay overpriced. Yes, you could pay for shipping. Yes, you could give a company that gives you bad customer service your money. You could do that. Or you could buy from Flippin' Out Pinball.
Yeah. Or, yeah. When I buy my pinball shit, I buy from Flippin' Out. From Topper's Art Blades Premiums, I've got it figured out. Flippin' Out. Yeah.
And no joke, not a lot of pinball distributors have like on-site customer support and service that supplant some of the lesser, I'll say, abilities of maybe some of the manufacturers. But really, truly, Zach, Greg, Nicole, Zach's dog, Zach's uncle, Zach's grandpa, Zach's great-grandpa, Zach's cousins, Zach's great-aunt, Zach's great-uncle. I believe he adopted 6 people just to work at Flippin' Out Pinball. The point is, their company keeps growing. They're doing great because they have great customer service, fair prices, and free shipping, amongst other things such as trading in your pinball machines, buying used machines at dirt cheap prices, and you can save on shipping and all that kind of stuff. Toppers, Art Blades, Premiums, they've got it figured out. Okay, I've been talking a lot, looking at this screen. I'm going to go nuts, so let me invite a couple old-timers back to the show. And for the Patreon members, you can see this section in video. I put a link out there. We might do some more video in the future, maybe not, but really we just wanted to see each other's beautiful faces. So we hit record as well and then just tossed it up on Patreon for those. So all this audio, free to everyone, but video, go check it out on patreon.com and other deep dives. Those are a blast. Go check out patreon.com/pinballparty. And if not, that's okay. Just keep listening and enjoy the show.
On the 12th day of fall, pinball came to me.
Dot Monday from Budge. Pinball Party official correspondent. Kale Hernandez. What's up, brah?
That'd be a good
TM.
new website, ridickpics.com.
Exactly.
Yep. And Kale, yeah, headphones are off. Good. You can't even hear me. All right, I think maybe we'll save the video because I'm doing this kind of I have a whole 25 minutes of podcast before this starts, so maybe we'll just save this for the Patreon, give them something juicy, and then we can...
Cool.
Yeah, so welcome back, you sons of bitches, to round 2 or 3 of the boys are back in town or something. Kale and Doc Monday. Hi.
What's up? Good to be back.
Yeah.
From the
thanks.
Windy City.
Just blew in.
Yeah.
My arms are tired.
I wasn't there. I don't know if you're aware. I wasn't.
We looked for you.
We
good.
look for you and Albert.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking. I was like hiding from Albert. I was afraid he was going to come. I jumped in an LE box. So
I gotta say though, at least he went hard. 12 out of 10.
Yeah.
I
no, for sure. I and Orbital Albert, if you're listening, we do love you. I'm never gonna give you my home address ever because you scared me. It's like him and Carrie Hardy. We're not. I need to keep at arm's length because now I'm a little bit afraid. But yeah, I mean, kudos to you for
one will shoot you, the other one will just yell at you a lot in your face
at the same time. Yeah, exactly. So
that's interesting. I've also had a recent pinball hey, don't come to my house. But luckily for me, he'll memorize my face though, so I don't have to worry about him finding my house.
Oh my God. Well, and I just want to say this in all seriousness, before we get really started,
yeah.
You said you talked to Stern, dude, Dude, there was no reason why some people got picked and other people didn't really. I mean, like, I think but overwhelmingly, I think it was like we had relationships with Stern on some level. Like Kale has been, worked at Marco, had all those things. I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and I think that's why I got an invite. But it's not because of reach or anything Orbital Albert did or didn't do. I don't think you have to like. I have been on the other side of that, like in music stuff, where it's like you kind of feel like you're like, what the hell? What did I do? And I just think that's not what this was. And ideally, like they will do this in the future. And I think invite different people or like additional people. And yeah, so that I did want to say that right off the bat because I felt for the people who wanted to go that didn't get to go for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, not to beat that to death, I thought you were going to say is like on a more serious note, don't stalk people. So to those who are creepers into into pinball media stuff, don't be weird and like I don't want to go into it because may or may not be dealing with something like that, and that's
absolutely. And like it's cool that pinball media is so accessible to people, but like don't like be weird about it. It's like, yeah, you can find us, but like just be friends with us. And that's cool. Like we want that. We like interaction, but like just, keep it in check.
What's pretty weird is when you're talking to the police and they're like a pinball podcast. And you're like, yeah, this is weird for me to like, oh, okay. And this person found you. Yeah, okay, pinball. Oh, what's that like? You talking like the old, like, yeah, man.
They think you're talking about ping pong at first, and you're like, no, pinball.
No, idiot. Yeah. Well, hey, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome back from the Stern factory tour, and welcome back to the Pinball Party podcast. I know you two have been on. You're the two most, popular guests on this show. Ian, you've been here in my house, roughly, I think, in that, or over here and up there. In a couple of episodes. Kale, you haven't. You're there, with those bats in the back. Before we get to the Stern thing, you two and I have done the like what we value most in the top 50 games we've gone through Pinside. Maybe we'll finish that. I guess we have to do that around Thanksgiving. So in a few months, we'll keep going down that list, which will be harder and harder. That's what she said. But it's kind of cool that there's the three of us here who all represent like the three main parts of the pinball hobby, where outside of like what we do in the like media of Doc being a very mainly on location player first. He goes and plays and does all the stuff. I'm like a home buyer and trader and seller and do all that hobbyist shit. Kale runs the Electric Bat Arcade, which is one of the most successful arcades out there. So we all have a very different perspective. And Rachel, but she's not here. She's there. I think she's on the couch.
She's doing yoga right now.
Yeah, is she really?
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Man, can she breathe through her nose?
Very well. Yeah, but I'm going to bring up our issues with breathing.
Should we talk medical issues in a little bit? Okay. We all have these interesting or these main points in pinball, and so I wanted to ask because I get a lot of feedback from people, and you guys probably doing different reasons of people will tell me how to think about pinball. Like there's they'll say in an email or a comment, which I had to delete one on YouTube recently. Yeah, whoever you are that listens and wants to say stuff like that on YouTube, geez, man, get a life. I saved that one for like one of the most horrible things anyone's ever said. So thanks about that.
Right.
But they'll say these things like, hey man, you should think about it this way. Stop thinking about it so much. Oh, okay. So I want to know, each from your perspective, I'll start with Ian. What is your favorite aspect of pinball? And I don't want to give any more nudge to in that direction because just your perspective. What's your favorite thing about pinball? What gets you hard the most when you're thinking about doing your location playing, or what's your like?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I've said this before, and it's tied a lot to, I guess, my quote unquote origin story in pinball, but what I like the most is getting lost in a game, and usually for me what that means is not necessarily like mechs or anything like that, it's actual gameplay. I think about right now my favorite game to play is Jaws Pro. If you are looking, when I initially saw Jaws Pro, I was like, there's nothing in this game. It kind of felt a little bit like Led Zeppelin-y to me. And then when the game teaches you how to play it, I actually just told this to Elwin. I was like, dude, your game is great because it teaches you how to play it. And then once you do, it's like this totally new pinball experience that you've never had before. And
yeah, like the balls going everywhere where they shouldn't.
Yeah,
the air balls.
Well, no, not that. Not air balls.
It's a whole new experience.
No, I just mean like it kind of, the rule sets and those things are interesting to me. But I think what I get lost in is ball control. Like, I really want to, accepting the ball and having it flow and those kind of things. I don't think about stuff deeper than that, really. Like, I just really want to listen to tunes and zone out. To me, it's the same. To me, it's the same thing as when I was shooting free throws or just shooting jump shots, pretending I was Michael Jordan as a kid. In the driveway, like shooting fadeaways, not doing anything that's going to like actually help me. It's just like you're doing a fun thing to do it. So I do understand the impulse of people who are messaging you like, hey, this isn't so serious or whatever. Cause I feel like I've even maybe said a not as dickish version of that to you, but I also know like, look, I have a very unique experience because I'm a single man with a car who doesn't really have real responsibilities in a lot of ways like you do. So it's like I can actually travel a little bit more and those kind of things. And I actually enjoy that part of it. I enjoy going out, finding a new spot, like especially if it's really vibey, like it has a cool thing. And I'm going to talk to some weird people. That's just part of my personality. So I don't even know if that totally answers your question. It's sort of pinball tangential, but to me, like on location play, that's a strength of it, is like you're actually going to meet people and sort of have some awkward or weird conversations. But I enjoy that as well. So
yeah. So kind of setting up the second question, what is the most stressful part for you in the hobby?
Thinking about money. If I want to buy a game, I just know that it's not going to happen without like major life decisions that are like potentially earth shaking. Like for me, playing John Wick, I really do like it. Like, I don't care if someone's going to say I'm a shill or whatever. It was a super fun experience for me. And I just know like I have to lobby hard to get Reboot to buy one because I'm not gonna buy one. I just can't, like, dude, this, like, I economically right now I've never been further from a chance to buy those games. And so that's something that does still stress me out. I think on your 12 days of balls, like I said that pinball's too damn expensive. That was my like big gripe, and it holds true today. I understand why it is, but also that's the biggest stressor.
Kale, how about you? What's your favorite thing as an operator in pinball? And I know you're more than that. You're a hobbyist and you play in tournaments and all that, but just trying to that perspective. What's your favorite thing about pinball?
And it's just, my message has been the same. It's the people. I just, and I know some people might be going, oh yeah, it's an operator. Of course it's the people. Everybody that walks through the door is a $20 bill. It has nothing to do with that. I like hanging out with folks. Like right now, I have a tournament coming up in a couple hours at the bat. I'm just excited about seeing all these folks and talking about what we did in Chicago. I'm not even thinking about I get to get back on John Wick. I get to play. We just got Bally Playboy. I'm not thinking about playing all of those. I'm just like connecting with these people, and it's no fault on your own. You just you don't get to experience this because you don't have this giant community. We're very lucky in the valley here in Arizona, but it's 100% the people hanging out with these people, having fun, talking, looking people, just eye to eye, not on social media, and connecting with this one thing that we're like super into, and then getting together and competing, getting into like hardcore competition, and and laughing and the camaraderie. That's the best part for me.
What's the worst part or the most stressful?
Just running a business, budgeting, concerned about what is the next game? Is this one we have to get, or is this a hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a vault or remaster of a game we already have, so we can save a little money and spend money on the next one. The stresses of running a business is the most difficult part for us.
And not that, like, to focus on the negative. The reason I ask is when people will, it's just the media stuff that you and all three of us deal with, because you run Nudge Magazine and you do the Electric Bat, and you're kind of public figures in this, of that sometimes people get lost in the negative side of it when they hear things. I'll say from me, of where they're like, stop thinking of an investment, stop thinking about that's going to lose you money. But I mean, if you're listening, what Ian also said and what Kale said is, like, the money is a huge part of it. The running a business, the business needs money. To enjoy the hobby, it's the money. So, like, a lot of times the frustration comes because if I was to ask the same thing about video games, it's that the money thing doesn't really come up. I mean, you can do this all the time, everywhere. It's finding that balance of the enjoyment and the money, and like is it still worth it to run Nudge Magazine? Is it still worth it to run Electric Bat? Is it still worth it to do Pinball Party and do all this stuff? There's a lot more, I think, than some people give all three of us, to toot my own horn, or to you, a lot more than people give credit to. So when there is times where, like, myself may vent publicly, or you might sense some anger in some of Nudge's posts of things, that's just real humans dealing with a hobby that have a huge passion of it. And, like, passion comes positives and negatives. And I don't think that people should always run away from the negative side. And really, like, last time when I was recording, it was more just exercise in that, of like, I'm not to throw Albert under the bus, I'm not coming out here to try to destroy everything, but it's interesting to hear both of your perspective on the more negative side of it, to be frank.
And I think, like, people listen to some podcasts and hear, they feel your pain. They feel, they listen to Ganeda, they listen to some Albert, and the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is, if you don't enjoy this, why are you still doing this? And the whole pinball thing, right? It's supposed to be fun, but you shed light on a different perspective of it. If you want something that's super positive all the time, go listen to Don, right? If you want to hear what struggles, not just you, other people are dealing with, come check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to hear how to not barf when you're doing Edward 40 hands as you're playing pinball, then you come to Nudge. Like, it's all a different perspective. Right. So,
and if you want to see, like, really weird dick pics, you go to ridickpic.com. TM.
Is this like when NBC mentions a website and then they have to buy the domain? Like, now you're going to have to buy ridickpic.com.
Mm-hmm. It's gotta be.
And it's not what you think, y'all. It's just really good pictures, ridiculous pictures. Yeah. Ridickpic.com.
Yeah, it's slang.
I was on a different page. I thought it was like ridiculous pictures of dicks.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, like, Dick's, you mean they're like things. Like they're wearing a sombrero and have like a mustache and stuff, or like
on their dick.
You dress them up. Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay.
I know Rachel is a big fan of it because she.
All right, let's move on.
She draws good dick. Is what I'm saying. She does.
Okay.
The best one.
Probably the best. So y'alls were at Stern's factory as part of what are the names? And I feel partially bad, maybe, doing what I did, and then Albert, like, we come up with all these names, like the Shill Gate, or what was it? The Shill Circus, the Shill Crew. It's not that. It's
no. I called it the Sternfluencer event. I don't know if that's kind of a good mix between like it, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek because, like, who the hell? There were a couple legit influencers there. I was not one of them. So I would, but yeah.
Don't sell yourself short on either of you.
They called it Media Day. I think.
Yeah,
it was like Stern Media Day.
That's official. You correct me if I'm wrong, but let me just put my place in your shoes and guess what happened. You show up, hey, welcome. Here's a high five. Here's a beer or whatever. And you walk in and the music celebrate, the lights, disco's going to the
it's
left.
Like when all the Microsoft CEOs are like dancing together. Like,
right,
you walk in under this bridge, everyone's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Jack Danger and Keith Elwin, high five and giving you just money. To the left, you see a Lord of the Rings Vault edition. To the right,
that was it.
You see a Tron LE with all these new lights. You see the new, Metallica 2.0 right behind it. Mm-hmm. You see, you got Pokemon. You see X-Men. You see maybe Harry Potter and the Matrix from JJP just stopping by to say hello. Ken Cromwell from JJP's there. Spooky's there with not Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah. The ghost of Python Angelo was there. Yeah, it was crazy.
David Fix wasn't there.
Champagne made a toast to the haves and the have-mores.
right. Yep. Kaneda was there. And you go in, everyone just hugs, maybe kisses a little bit, gets a little weird, and you're like, whoa. You draw some boundaries. You have some fun, and then you play John Wick, and then you go home. Is that roughly?
It was funny. You're not far off, I guess. Yeah, it was pretty much exactly like that. No, I mean, we got there. There was like a bunch of people kind of already trickling in around 12:30 or 1, and you get let into basically they kind of did do a little bit of I said this is sort of a Willy Wonka moment to Kale, because out walks Gary Stern, Seth, and George Gomez. And my favorite part when I'm taking pictures is I just realize I'm like, Gary Stern is wearing the exact same outfit as his cutout, down to like the loafer, the black loafer shoes.
The zombie Yeti drawing,
literally the exact same thing. So I was a little bit distracted by that, but they just kind of came out and were like, hey, we're really glad you're all here and blah, 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 blah. And then they kind of like let us in and we can kind of break down even like a little bit by bit. There were sort of like 3 or 4 kind of activities that we did while we were there after that. But it was mostly just like a meet and greet, and everyone was kind of excited to see who was going to be there. We didn't know. I had asked some people if they were going to go, but you ask 1 or 2 people, and if they're not going to go, then you're like, I don't want to ask anyone else.
Right.
So,
it was like we talked about how it's like the beginning of one of those movies where they pull together this team, and you don't know who you are until you like actually arrive at the mission location.
Nice.
Right off the bat, to dispel rumors, you see on Pinside and Facebook, we didn't sign any NDAs.
No.
They told us
get wrecked.
Yeah,
nice.
anything we saw or heard, we were free to talk about. There were parts where we couldn't take any photo or video, but yeah, everything was really open.
It was basically like, and George Gomez said this. He's like, I'm inviting you into my house. So just like try to be respectful, and if we ask you not to share something, then like please don't share it. And like to me, like I really respect George Gomez. Like I did before this trip, and I really do afterwards, after getting a chance to talk to him a little bit. Just in terms of, he's a very, like, say what you will about whatever your perception is about the direction of Stern and all that. I know all people feel different kinds of ways, but dude, like, that's a man who literally just wants to make cool stuff for people to play with, like has his whole life. I got to corner him for a second at Logan, and I was like, bro, why did you pick toys to make? Like, of all the things, you're so smart. I'm like, and he's like, I don't know, I've just always liked them. I'm like, you could be a billionaire like making missiles for Raytheon, and you picked pinball machines. I think that's actually kind of dope that like someone who's sort of a Michelangelo, like, dude, him doing the sculpt of the car on John Wick and like doing it all himself. And I think it's like not even John Wick's exact car, because there was like licensing issues with that. He designs his own car for this. Dude, he's the chief creative officer. He doesn't need to be bothering with that. He's doing it because he loves it and it's a passion. So like, I did want to actually, like, that spoke to me, and it worked better than an NDA. An NDA, I would have like kind of been like bristling against it. When someone's like, we trust you, like, please don't screw us. Like, here's my neck, please don't cut it. Like, yeah. I actually really, really appreciated that part of this trip.
That's risky. I've done that and got cut.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. When when did someone, please tell me, when did, whether it's you or Don or Erica, I know she was there, ask the questions that people want to know, like, hey, is Tron Vault coming? Did people ask those questions?
No, nobody did stuff like that. During our meeting in the conference room, one person joked, like when they showed us some information, oh, is this for blah blah blah, some rumored game, and then everybody kind of laughed, but there was nobody. No, everybody was extremely respectful, on the same page as far as that goes.
But I mean, there were questions that were asked. I think that no one was like, because dude, like, if you're like, hey, what's the next game on the line? Like, of course,
right.
Like, you just know they're not going to say that. So I think usually the kind of information that you're gleaning is like, hey, whatever they're going to give us, they're going to give us. And I'm trying to like read between the lines and just, for me, I have a little bit different perspective on this because, like I told you, like I am a people person. Like, to me, the pinball part of it, I don't care as much about what new game's going to come out because, we talked about this. I'm a location player, so it almost is sort of incidental. Like, I'm going to play it one way or the other. I'm not going to buy it. So I was more interested in like, hey, let's talk to Jack Danger, let's talk to Kyle Spiteri, like those guys that are my friends, and just like get the kind of taste or like seeing Brian Eddy and like catching up with him and like kind of doing interviews like that. Like I talked to, Kale, what's his name? The man who does the wire harnesses.
Jim.
Yeah. We're going to run an article with Jim because I was like, this guy's been around since the Alvin G days doing the nervous systems of pinball machines. Like, I was actually interested in hearing that and like sort of the differences between doing wiring harnesses in 1981 or 3 or whatever versus doing them in 2024.
Yeah, Jim Sheard's been around forever, and a lot of people just don't know who he is. He's the guy behind the scenes that really works on the nervous system of the game since forever. You can see his his credits on like old school, Data East stuff and all kind of stuff.
But to answer your question, I think people like Jason Knapp were looking around. There were like times, so we went on a full factory tour, like the craziest, like they opened up everything. We saw everything being assembled, really cool stuff. There was literally like 2 rooms that we weren't allowed to go in because they're like literally working on new games. And so, Jason Knapp standing on his fucking tiptoes, like trying to peep inside what box is behind this box and shit. And I'm just like, so he's doing his due diligence for sure. Like I would say that's the guy, but he's not like also, it was really funny. Actually, this is some good, like hot goss. I know that people were a little bit like, Jason Knapp's hogging Gary Stern and like at Logan Arcade, dude, these guys hung out with us from morning till night. Gary Stern was at Logan Arcade when I left. He like was like, see you later. And then like went back into party, which is mind blowing to me. But like people were like, Jason Knapp has kind of had George Gomez, Gary and Seth all kind of together in this little like power, power quartet. And we're like, God, what are they talking about? Like, I would love to know. So I know that some of us like, quote unquote influencers were jealous of that access that Jason Knapp got.
What was, Kale, I know Kale, I mean, you've been in Marco, you have buddies at Stern, you've been around longer than Ian and I in this whole biz. What was your favorite thing this trip to see? Or I know people is your thing, but what was your favorite piece of this trip?
Man, it's hard to say. It was sort of this baseline of excitement that just never ended. It was I haven't seen this new factory. That was amazing. As soon as we got on the factory floor, man, it was kind of emotional. This is our livelihood. I mean, for me and Rachel, this is where the excitement comes from. This is where the sausage is made. But one thing that I didn't expect to be so cool was just hanging out with the other podcasters. And I know that sounds funny, but like,
no, it doesn't.
You'd think the most exciting thing was, hanging out with Gary Stern, but like connecting with these other podcasters, Rachel and I had never met Loser Kid. As many conventions as we'd gone to, we finally got to hang out with them, and that was pretty cool. So we could all get our message right. So no, I'm kidding about that part.
But they made us all take our clothes off and hold hands.
Yeah. That's a pinball party.
Yeah, but connecting with these people like Jason Knapp, we message each other a lot, but we finally got to like actually hang out and have some FaceTime.
That was the best. I even made that comment when we were there that I told like some of the guys at Stern, I'm like, I don't know if this is doing anything for you, but I do appreciate that this is kind of like forming a sense of community with like the media that's there. Like I definitely felt more connected. Like I've had interactions with Jason Knapp before, but yeah, I'd never met him, and it was like a really fun hang.
Right.
He doesn't like weed, which was like that was a huge point of contention between me and him. He's like, oh, Ian over there is going to pass out from his vape pen. And I was like, bitch, I do this 9 times a day. Like, don't worry about it. I'm good. So that was really funny. But I think like like getting to know people and like kind of the person behind the media part was awesome for sure.
One other thing that was like really cool, I think people would like to hear about. So like Ian was saying, they took us everywhere. There's one room, the product development room. It has no windows. It's soundproofed. Of course, we didn't go in there. That's where the new games are. And then we didn't go to the offices, Seth and Gary's office. But they took us into one place that surprised some of the employees, where it's like the machine shop where they do tool, and that was amazing, especially for Rachel and I, because everybody's walking through there. And Rachel and I noticed, wait, these are 2 mechs we've never seen before. And so we start like hovering over it and like looking, because there are CAD drawings underneath them. And we're looking for any clues. And then Jack runs over to the table and makes sure there's, we did see a code name, but, you couldn't tell what they are. But just because Rachel and I are under the hood of these machines, we knew that these were parts that, these are new parts. And so that, it was kind of cool to see stuff like that.
And to see the crazy technology that's in that room. They just have this giant laser cutter, like all these crazy things. And it's funny, while Kale's doing that and doing like Kale plays kind of a doofus, but he's not. But I actually am, because while they're doing that, I'm running over to take a picture of the microwave wall. Like that's what I was psyched about. I'm like, look at all these microwaves. That's amazing. So yeah. But yeah, that room was sick for sure.
All right, so you guys are they fly you in kind of just a day, right? And was it, aside from the tour, it was pretty John Wick focused? Just, hey, get a chance to play it all? What did you guys...
It wasn't really John Wick focused.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
You
bitch.
think so? They showed us everything.
They showed us it was both. It was like, I think they were responding to the overall narrative right now. Like to be real, dude, this was like a transparency thing for them. I think they wanted to come off as authentic and not aloof, because I think that has been right. I mean, you've maybe felt that way. I've felt that way on occasion, where I'm like, these guys are awesome, but they're kind of like the Yankees. Like they are real straight laced. They're not going to comment either way. What the part that wasn't about John Wick was about, this is what our production schedule is like. This is why licensing, like these are why pinball machines cost a lot of money. This is what we have to deal with licensors, like those kind of big topics, they weren't afraid to talk about and address, because they wanted us to see like their people. Like they're not just a big corporation. It's funny, because a big corporation, I think we get the idea that Stern is like Nike or something. They're not. Like they do have 500 employees, I think they said, and then they indirectly employ, a couple thousand, which is basically, I think in their estimation of that, they're probably talking about like suppliers and things like that. I didn't understand that part of it as much. But like 500 people, like, dude, Jason, you've worked at companies that are bigger than 500 people, and it's not like you're Nike, so I think a big part of it was just understanding, even though they're the biggest in pinball, that they're really not trying to separate. They have learned, I think, dude, this was a learning experience for them, that if people feel, whether they are doing it or not, if people feel like the back has been turned to them, whether it's distributors or the media or consumers, that's a big problem.
And so I think, and to stop, which I'm glad to hear, if you just take off the like beating around the bush of pinball market is going down on the used side. Kerry Hardy being angry about the gun gate. That's not, whatever, that's his thing. Me saying that, I didn't get invited, woe is me. Orby, same thing. You see, and I'm telling you from someone who's on Pinside all the time, it's just kind of what I do. And people, Zach, who I do the deep dives with, all of this stuff, I don't want Stern to think that like, this is just a John Wick reaction. No. It's everything kind of at once, and John Wick just happens to be somewhat of the catalyst of,
yes,
it is very tough to be doing pinball right now. And probably for them as well, of like prices, it just can't maintain for like a secondary market. Or, I mean, as great as Electric Bat is, there's not a ton of electric bats. And even if Ian and I were like, and we're very passionate pinball people, and you're doing some work with the local arcade place, and I've looked at some of your business stuff and thinking like, people have like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? Like, bro, okay.
We don't have the capital, yeah.
Well, even if we did, like our sister Minneapolis and St. Paul, there's a couple great places and they have tons of populations. Even for them, they're not raising a family on this money. It's so hard. So there's like all these frustrations that like lead to like John Wick or these things that just kind of let it out. And maybe some of mine was the same thing of it's tough out there. So
that was the hardest part for me, man, because to be honest, I think John Wick is a cool game. Like I'm not a shill, like, and it plays fun as fuck. Like, dude, Kale, we went back like that night after the we went to Logan, and then someone had a flimsy excuse. We get back to there's a bus that buses us back to Stern because our hotel's literally across the street. And someone's like, oh, I left my stuff in Stern. And so we all go in there and play pinball for another like 2 hours. It
was the whole crew, and we had Roper with us. And Roper,
it was allowed, but it was just like, it was just like, man, I loved playing Wick. Like we were just vibing on it for fun. And we had been playing it for a while. Like that day, I was even playing the ones that they had at Logan. So it was just such a bummer to me that like I put myself in Elliot's place, where if this was my first game and I knocked it out of the park and it seems really cool, but the discourse is sort of like exactly what you said, Jason. Like
I don't think it's Wick specific.
It's almost bigger than pinball, because I think people are crunched. People are losing their jobs.
McDonald's is expensive.
Yes. Well, and I'm out of work right now.
You and I have both gotten laid off within the last 3 months.
Exactly. And that is the margins are smaller than they've ever been. The market is contracting in pinball, and so I think their understanding of what they have to do and how they have to engage with the community just going forward, like. They're going to have to integrate. I think they want to find bigger markets, which was part of the whole weird YouTuber fiasco, but also they are understanding like these are the people and we got to grow it organically this way, because we don't know what the future holds, but it looks kind of scary, at least for the next couple of years. So
Stern knows what's going on with the economy, but that's something they cannot control. Right. And what they're trying to, for lack of a better word, control or educate people on is the constraints with licensing, because, Kerry Hardy's message, it does hurt sales. I mean, waving a gun around, quoting Hitler, appealing to his right-wing base, it hurts sales.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm talking to distributors who are like, LE buyers are calling and making fun of it. Oh, no guns, but woke this and that, and that is just, they just wanted to say that this is not at all what's going on. If we wanted to work with this movie title, there were certain things we had to do to get this very cool pinball machine to you.
Yeah, and my thing with that, with the licensing and all that, was The hardest part for me, I get it. Like, I get that there are sort of like hot button issues for people. And that's like, I mean, AI is that for me, right? Kale, you know that. Like, you post some AI stuff, and I'm such a pathological asshole that I like every single time will have to comment on it. So I understand that impulse, but it was really good to hear is like, because people will be like, well, then just don't do that license. It's like, I just don't like to compare a game to what's in your head. Like the whole shark doesn't eat the ball thing. It's like, you're actually, that's dumb. That's dumb when you it's dumb when you do that with movies. It's dumb when you do that with music, where you have a preconceived notion in your head. You're like, this isn't matching that, because I want to be able to just react to what I'm actually seeing, what I'm actually playing. And so I get the gun thing, but to me, it took the focus almost immediately off what is a very fun playing game with some interesting code already, like this early, and made it about something that was like, oh, this is just what's not there. It was tough. So yeah.
And for the people who are thinking like, oh, well, just drop it. Don't do that game. If the licensor won't let you do what you want, Gomez, we all went to a conference room, and he gave us just a master class on licensing, really pulled back the veil. And
like all classes, I fell asleep about an hour and a half in. But other than that, yeah.
And there are difficulties that people don't realize. For example, so Jody or whoever lands a license, and then like, we're gonna do this. Oh, very cool. You're working a year on this project, and then the licensed team with the other side changes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like they have new rules. Now you're already 6 months, a year into this project, and people are like, well, just drop it. You've spent I don't know, couple $1 million, $1 million, and then people are like, well, if they won't let you do what you want to do, just drop it and move on to the next one. I mean, that's not how you survive.
And when they've had to do that, it was sort of a monumental thing. So yeah, it's like a big decision to do that. So sorry.
I don't understand Ian, when you're talking about the Jaws eating the ball, of like, there's this historical, like, people, or I almost take it as, I think, as intended a lot of times, where like, it's kind of joking, like, oh, it doesn't eat the ball. Yeah, okay. Or like the license, the Jurassic Park, oh, it doesn't have enough assets.
That one was the worst one to me. Like that one is like a more like that felt pretty rough. Just
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, because like Dennis Nedry as the star of Jurassic Park.
Sure, but yeah. I think the Wick controversy was a much more just like this anger-inducing, like, fuck it all, it's fucking horrible. Yes. We're like, whoa, not just like, oh, the licenses doesn't quite get it right.
Yes.
And I get the like notion of, I expected this, so I get it, and I know that people, like you said, like, well, just review what you are getting, not what you expected. Like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, I wanted it to be like this, and it's disappointing because of what's her name, it got stabbed in the gut 50 times and stayed alive. Yes, however, when companies are monetizing off of licenses come with it an expectation. People aren't buying Back to the Future because they're like, I've heard of Back to the Future, I can't wait to buy it. It's like, there's a lot of things I like about Back to the Future, like the DeLorean, I like these things. So they're looking to make money based on that. If you don't deliver on that, then there's some common ground to get like not that upset. Well, subjectively, I can't speak
100%, but I do think that Stern was like kind of frustrated because they're like, we're actually giving this to you. Like, if you watch, like, dude, we played the LE with Tim right there, and they're doing this new thing in the code, super cool, where they have the lit speakers and they have like basically a strobe effect in them that is paired with the video and the shaker motor, where they're doing like doof, doof. Like anytime he shoots a gun on screen, it's like giving you like he points it at the screen like this, like Patreon, you motherfuckers are seeing me right now, like he's like this, and then it's like like that, like right in your face. It's like, that is so sick. It was actually too much guns for me. Like when I was playing it, I'm like, and you hear the sound package and it's like silencers and shotties and like all this stuff. So I think for them, they're just like, dude, we get it. We get what you want, and we're gonna give it to you the best way that we can. And like, I think that's why they're kind of frustrated about it, because they're just like, dude, we get it. We like
right.
all the guys on
plus
Wick
they're
like
not
Wick.
they're not adding this stuff because of the controversy. This was always going to be in it.
Totally. Yeah. And it is cool because you're like, oh, sick. Like I kind of start to see, dude, pinball isn't just art, right? And it's not just music, and it's not just whatever. It's like how all these things work in concert. So I think it's a little bit in bad faith when you sort of like single out one thing so much and are like,
oh yeah,
I don't have this one thing, you know.
Right.
So
And
I'm
also,
100%. Go ahead.
What people need to think about is, this happened. Then now you have Jack's. I mean, all the designers are working on a machine, but let's just say Jack. You have Jack working on a machine. Now he's stressed out.
totally.
He's like, what? Not only is it hard to build a pinball machine, but now he's thinking about, what asshole on some podcast is going to like talk shit about this part and how how I'm weak. I think I'm weak-minded, and
there is a difference, and I'm going to just say this again about Jaws, where the Wick thing or the licensing thing, a horse apiece, whatever. To each their own on the licensing. I have no. I think John Wick actually looks pretty badass. I think when there's a difference where I've spent my own $10,000 on a game, $10,000 on, I'm saying Jaws again, where I've played it and it actually is broken.
Word.
And when I communicate with Stern's customer support, who will not help, that is a valid criticism, and I don't like it when people push back. Oh no, you should say that it's all great. It's not. That's $10,000.
No, I think that's totally. Yes, dude. Guess what?
So I don't want to get those confused of I don't see a gun. Fuck Stern, fuck all that. Versus I've spent all 100%. This money.
I think they're open to that too. I think there's kind of a misconception that's like, I don't want you to stop doing that. That's kind of when I heard you talk about, you were kind of like ruminating on the podcast when you're like, it's a bummer that I wasn't invited to this, and you're sort of like imagining reasons why. I never want you to stop kind of doing that stuff. And I don't think Stern does either, because good companies are open to criticism, constructive criticism. Right. And that's something where it's like, I think they can work on that. I think when it's frustrating to them is things where, like I said, bad faith arguments. And you're absolutely right. No company is perfect, but specifically with Stern, there are things that they can do and they're going to have to do, right? If they want to be the worldwide superpower that they want to be, they kind of have to figure some of that stuff out. So
I want to give credit to Cale and Rachel for and maybe he knows where I'm going with this. I bought a previous game from Stern from the same designer. I love Jurassic Park. I got Jurassic Park literally right in this corner. Got home, I could not hit the main shot in the game for the life of me, and I was very frustrated. And I was texting Cale and Rachel of I can't hit the T-Rex shot. It kept hopping over everything. It kept hopping everything, and they're like, I emailed Stern. They didn't. I'm not trying to bash. This is just a real world example of where how good customer service will help you. And I think it's important to get whatever licensing for software you need to get support better. Cale and Rachel were the ones that solved that problem for me of even partners of Stern, of where I had an open ticket and I was even sharing it with Cale and Rachel of this isn't getting me. They're like, yeah, don't do that, do this. And they were walking me through via text after I was taking videos. I sent 5 videos to Stern, sent 1 video to Rachel at Electric Bat Arcade in Tempe, Arizona. They fixed it for me, which was
thanks a lot. Now we're going to get a bunch of emails.
Yeah. So if you need support, no, but I mean, it speaks to if that
you fix the GI on my Torpedo Alley.
You can't control the market. Of course you can't. I mean, the only thing you can control is whatever bill of materials or prices of games, but you can control the support of if I'm already stretched thin to get this and you're not supporting, that is a recipe for disaster. And as someone who's even myself who does this so much, I have even more reason to buy. I mean, think of the ones that don't, that are just well, I can't be doing this anymore.
Yeah, and I've talked about this, I think even on your podcast and our podcast, what people, especially first-time buyers, what people need to be prepared about is, and this is not just with the smaller guys like Spooky. It's harder with stuff like Spooky, but a big company like Stern has been doing this for decades. You're still getting a science project that you might need to tweak a little bit, even just right out of the box. I mean, I've seen this when the most new in box Sterns I've opened in one day is 60. And
God.
And yeah, my back still hurts from that. And you have to do little tweaks to make them, play. These are all like handmade machines. I mean, we saw it all happening. There's people with hand tools making this thing. It's not robots. And people just need to realize that there's a little tweaking outside of the box that you're going to have to do. And I think that's what you were experiencing.
And I'm no stranger to it, but it's harder when it's like such a new thing and like you just want to play it, but like you're spending hours of your day to it. I don't want to beat it head on. I think Ian is so surprised he's not even moving.
Do we still have Ian?
He can't believe it. I don't think we do. I'll text him. Hey, I got a text about a Lord of the Rings. What is this? Pre-restoration project in Lord of the Rings. Man, this is good. Again, I'm still kind of looking for Lord of the Rings, while Ian still can't believe what's happening.
So will people be able to see this video? This is great. It looks like he's about to say something.
He's ready.
Can you invite him back?
He'll come back. If not, let's talk shit quick before he get. Man, what a loser!
There he is.
Huh? Hey, we weren't saying
buddy.
anything.
I don't know what happened there, but I was actually talking, and I thought you guys were just talking over me, like being dicks. So
we thought you were like, wow, he's really paying attention.
Yeah, your screen was frozen, like you were about to say something.
Well, what I wanted to say was, Kale, do you remember they actually talked about this in there? I think Seth Davis did. He said, it has to get easier. He said that they're working on videos like, out of the box to kind of help people with some of these problems. I mean, dude, I think that's why they hired Kyle from Marco, to make those videos for them. It's a huge point of emphasis that not only I think, the uncharitable view of it, right, is they always say like, hey, we're using like these people as beta testers and then react. I don't think it's like that exactly. I think more it's like, dude, these are not computers. They're not computer games. There are mechanical things that have to happen 100% of the time. And the degree of difficulty of that is just so crazy that yes, those things are going to happen. And absolutely, you're right. Like you spend $10,000 on your game and you're like, fuck this when this is airballing like every single time.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. But they are like, that is not something that they are not thinking about. It 100% is.
And this is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Cause I know you guys are seeing the same thing I'm seeing. So many new people getting into pinball and they have, they start a message on whether it's Facebook or Reddit or Pinside. First time buyer, I want to get into pinball. What machine should I buy that I'm not going to have to work on? It doesn't exist.
Star Trek Pro is the closest answer.
No, hell no, it's not. The optos on that thing are a nightmare.
Oh no, shit! Yeah, I've had to fix.
Right,
yeah, the optos for the Vengeance.
What's that? Oh,
for the Vengeance.
Yeah. I mean, it'll ramp up your score. It's crazy, but there's no like, there's no easy answer to this. The real answer is you're gonna have to learn to work on this. It's like somebody going, what classic car can I buy that I'm not gonna have to work on?
I know, but like a new car you don't have to work on is the problem.
But you're not taking a new car and throwing a steel ball bearing at it constantly.
You're throwing the whole thing at asphalt all day at 100 miles an hour.
Right. I get it. Like Kale, like I'm just trying to be not the party line here because I think like we do have to be kind of realistic about that because people are going to listen to this. Look, first of all, we heard all the shit. Like, these are going to be Shillapalooza, like blah, 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 blah. For me, I was like, I didn't want to. All those guys record a podcast right after we got done that night, like Don and all those guys. And I was like, bro, that's a suicide mission to me. Not interested. Like, I don't want to be the one not thinking about what we're saying. Because Jason, I want to be like what you were talking about. Like, I want to go in with open eyes and kind of think about the hard questions. And so I just don't want, I get it. And like, I think that they do too. That's all I can say is like, I don't know that they're dude, I was this guy with Spooky, right? Like Kale's always making fun of Spooky. I'm like, they're trying, they are trying, like things fail. And and things like that. But it's just, I think there's such a high degree of difficulty in this industry.
Fuck yeah, there is. Well,
so
I'm very happy that more than anything, Y Stern invited everyone. I'm not like pivoting of like, now I'm happy everyone went but me. That's not what I mean. But I'm glad that they took the step, because people like yourselves or whoever is putting out these videos before an influencer knows what someone like, even like myself or Carrie Hardy, let's pick like the people who might be hyper focused. You know what the concerns are going to be ahead of time, so you know what to talk about. As in, like, these other people, like, look at that. They got John Wick pinball. Look at it go.
Right.
Like, all right, fucker. Yeah, of course. Get to the stuff that people actually who are in the hobby need to know.
They know they fucked that up. They were like, but it's funny to hear Gomez talk about it, because he's like, we knew you guys were gonna cover it, and we're like, well, yeah, but bitch, like, we kind of want, like,
do you know the reality of it though?
We want to feel good too. Like, we want to feel,
Let's take Kale out of this for. You guys are a diamond in a rough for what you do, and I know you can probably even admit that. Like, Electric Bat is fucking great, and not everyone can do what you guys are doing. So you will have access to games because you make money off them. Take myself, Pinball Party Podcast, and Ian, who live in the same town, have the same problems of how to play games. If, let's say, Nudge, I know you guys don't like review games, but you do. Let's say that you kind of did more. Or like, if I, as a pinball content creator, which no one's paying me to do this, if I want to talk about a new game, the only way I can talk about a new game, unlike Retro Ralph or these other people, is either I have to buy it and get it in my house and then deal with, the customer service or all these things that like, or I drive minimum 3-hour round trip, because our local place isn't big enough to get all the new games all the time. They do great stuff, but they just can't do what Electric Bat is, like day one have new games. That's a lot to ask of us. So we're like, of course, like someone who's just like in like California, we'll send you a game to review it. Like, fuck yeah, okay, great. I'm gonna love this fucking thing. But I have to work my ass off to be able to play a game.
For sure. And to be honest, like, I think part of that, and I'll just put this on us, right, is like, fucking move to a different town then, motherfucker. Like,
not
you
for
know
pinball,
what I mean? Like,
but yeah.
Well, if we're gonna get down to the nuts and bolts of this and why some people get sent games, and I've
it makes sense. They should. They get tons of influence.
They use video.
Yeah.
Well, I would if there was I would.
Well, but they were using video before and proved that they could show something.
That makes sense. I'm not doubting. Like, of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't. People who think that it doesn't make sense that Stern sent these people who have like 100,000 people watching them. Of course they fucking should. But
yeah.
There was one dude with 1.8 million subscribers that we'd never met before.
Send that bro a game.
Arcade Matt. He's like a claw machine master. Dude was actually pretty cool too. Like, I talked to him for a while, but
he's not going to speak to our crew the way we need to.
100%. Right.
Yeah. And like I said, this was definitely, in a lot of ways, I think this was, Zach Sharp had said this was not a response to that, but I do think this, like, he had planned something like this for a while. He had wanted to do it for a while, but I think the impetus to do this changed when that happened and people saw the reaction to those videos. So I think that was a catalyst for like allowing us to get in there now. But so
at the end of the day, I think it's all a positive thing of like the culture of pinball had to react at some point. That's going to happen. And then at least Stern did the thing of like, okay, well, we'll do something about it instead of just like, well, fuck you. So in the end, it will be good for the hobby.
I think they need to do both. I mean, to me, as like a guy coming from marketing, I talked about this a little bit with them, but it's like the people that you're going to get from big YouTube channels are going to be, right? We talk about the customer journey in marketing, and no one tuned into this podcast to hear that stuff. But right, it starts with building trust and awareness. Those are the first two things.
Customer.
And trust me, right? And so I think those videos are going to do that with a really wide audience, but they're not like far enough along on their journey that those people are actually going to buy games. Even though, right, Nudge has a much smaller audience than Arcade Matt. The people who are with us are like, they're like right there. You know what I mean? They already own a game, 2 games, 3 games. And so I think both of those, you can't neglect either part of it, because it's all like a continuation of one thing. So for them, I think that's going to grow the hobby for the next like 5 to 10 years. You have to have that kind of strategy too. Mm-hmm. But the people who are already in it, like you need both. So
I 100% before I started doing this, and even now to a certain extent, when I'm thinking about getting a game, I'm not going to I know IGN does some of this, but that's the biggest, they have a guy, Claiborne on IGN. I mean, that is your outreach. Keep that going. But even that doesn't seem to be moving the needle. Or some of the guys at Giant Bomb. But I will listen to either straight down the middle video reviews or the Pinball Show or Triple Drain or not myself. I don't listen to myself. That's where I'm really listening, because those people play pinball and they know that's where I'm getting the oh, should I spend money on this? Should I play that game? Because they're the ones talking the way I need to hear it versus it's a ball, look at it go.
Yeah, I wonder, and this is totally me speculating here, I wonder if trust just had to be built up back on both sides, because I think that probably there's been some, hey, dude, you know this, I know this, Kale knows this, there's a lot of cockfuckery that's going on in the pinball media space. We kind of will leak anything, we'll treat each other like crap, we'll do unhinged videos. It's if I'm a multi-million
treat each other like crap. I don't buy into that, though. Let me just put that there. I don't want to treat people like crap.
Well, I mean, talk to Chris or Chris Kaneda and whoever he's in rivalry with, and how they go back and forth. That's happened with Zach Meny. Even it's happened with. All these different
I don't
people.
consider that acceptable. Don't.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is they have seen that too. So it's I don't want to get into. I don't want to be releasing this stuff to people who are unhinged, and I don't know what they're going to say.
Of course.
I understand that part of it.
Yeah.
So it's we got to be on good behavior. And that's why I think we talked about this before the video, and I wonder about it. There were some things that we can't talk about, and I'm not going to. No. And I think Kale won't either, because part of me thinks maybe this is a test. Maybe some of these leaks aren't even real. They want to see can these guys actually handle it? You know what I mean?
Right. And what Ian's talking about is when we were in the conference room, George told us one thing, a very interesting story about a game. And he was like, please, this is just for you guys. Don't say anything. And Ian and I both agree this was like a litmus test. See, if it gets out, they know who was in the room.
Exactly.
That's
so just I think it's a two-sided street, right? It's a relationship thing, and absolutely Stern recognizes their part, and I think is trying to build that up a little bit more. And ideally, good faith wise, it doesn't mean shill for them. It doesn't mean blindly agree with whatever the PR is that gets released, but it does mean act like a media professional, how IGN acts. They're not gonna wave around a gun and cry. They're not going to. It's
yeah. Well, no.
So,
hey, let me just do this just to ask you two. We are all obviously supportive of each other in this. Clearly, my goal and some of my struggle is, and I guess maybe Kale knows this more than anything, is I'm not really sure the aim of what I'm doing specifically to talk about me. So when I kind of mused on oh, why didn't I go to Stern? Well, I wasn't really making a podcast to say hey, I'm a marketing branch and I'll say everything great. So I wasn't really doing that. So to expect to get invited was also I knew that the whole time. Finding that balance, I guess what I learned for myself is that I can't censor my honesty about, the Jaws type stuff. But I think if part of my goal, if what I'm saying is to still help this hobby, then I can at least tune the negative stuff in the vein to still be somewhat helpful versus and I don't think, so guess what I'm asking you, does it come across that I'm this, when if I say a negative thing, then it comes across as just this attacking negative, fuck you?
I would have to take it case by case. I think your concerns are always valid. It's how you voice them. Right. And so I think that would be true with Kaneda too. If his arguments are made in good faith and that you're actually trying to critique the hobby in a way that's constructive and the industry, I think like no one's going to have a problem with those things. They never would. Like, but when you kind of create straw man arguments and you are sort of just repeating like sound bites, or like shark don't eat ball, like, like hop on those things. And I get what the impulse would be to do it. And I'm not saying you do that. You don't do that. That's why I'm saying is like, keep doing what you're doing because that's the right way to do it. But I think if it's in bad faith and you're kind of just going for clicks and that can happen either way. Like there are some people that kind of come out and you're like, dude, you don't have to like dick ride as hard as you are either. Like like, I don't think they want that either. That doesn't look cool. So dude, like we value authenticity. And I think that's be your authentic self, but just also know like, you can be in your feelings sometimes. I can too. And I have to recognize that about myself. So,
and also let's recognize they did invite people who have been critical. Tom was there and he just did a whole, he rarely cuts on his webcam to say anything. And he blasts Stern for like, inviting these video game YouTuber people to come see the game.
I love Tom talking trash though because it's so gentle and like very calm.
But he's not really pulling punches.
He's not. I
think his was a very good video. If anyone, I don't know.
Absolutely, I love Tom and his message. But also Hup Challenge. Hup Challenge was there, and they've been very vocal about that one social media post where
I don't even know what that was.
So it was a guy playing pinball, and there's a shot from behind him, and a girl who's supposedly his girlfriend looking at the camera, smiling. And I can't remember what it said, but
it said my girlfriend after. It was a really hacky meme, which is like why it was so bad. It was like my girlfriend taking pictures 12 hours into me playing pinball or something like that. And I think just like, it wasn't even that it was egregiously sexist. It is sexist and like, but I think it was like sexist, unfunny. And like they had just reached a point in these memes where it was like 4 in a couple months that were all had this tone of like women are fuddy-duddies that like don't like pinball. And so it was sort of just like, you know what, fuck this. Like we actually do like pinball quite a bit, and so that was sort of the reaction, I think, is where that came from. It wasn't that it was just some terrible like, it was just like an unfunny, lame meme that felt like old school. I've always said this is like, dude, you see Nudge, like we have pictures of like hot women in front of pinball machines. There is a uncharitable view of those pictures that's like these guys are being exploitative or sexist. But the fact of the matter is that women love Nudge magazine, and those pictures specifically get some of the best compliments from women of all, and it's because we see women as pinball players and like that they like it just as much, and they like all these, it's like understanding that part of it is actually like you'll get so much credit from the community, I think. So that was like the controversy essentially.
So they invited people who have been openly critical and listened to them. Those folks got a voice in the conference room.
So
absolutely
double down on Airball's talk. Is that what you're saying?
We didn't.
Let me tell you about Jaws, bruh. Hey, okay.
The only Jaws that I brought up, which sucks. Sorry, Jason. I was very complimentary. I got to and I want to get into some of the, if we can, like we're talking a lot of nuts and bolts. It would be cool to talk about partying with Stern guys because that was my favorite part. Like getting to hang out with Keith Elwin. Dude, Keith Elwin knew. Like, hold on. For the Patreon people, we have this Keith Elwin sticker that I sometimes hand out with. And he's like a robot. Like it's hard to see it here because it's like out of focus, but he's like a robot.
It's kind of like if you picture Kano from Mortal Kombat with a hat on,
100%,
and a Jack's arm.
And he knew about those stickers already. He was like, and like Kale, you know Keith. So like he recognized me. I wasn't sure that he did because he's sort of taciturn. He doesn't say a lot, and he just goes, "Hey, you got one of those stickers of me?" And I was like, I do actually. And I gave him a sticker, and I was like, oh, thanks, man. And then he was sitting at a table with two other guys, and I was kind of like, dude, you know me. Like, sometimes I take chances with shit, and I maybe shouldn't do that. And so I was a little bit nervous because
Did you try to kiss him?
No, I was talking to Keith a lot, and then I was like, "Hey, guys," and I kind of like looked at them, and they're like, "Yeah, we're the rest of his team." Kind of like one of the guys said that, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And I'm like, "Do you know Nudge Magazine?" He's like, "No," and I was like, "Do you want one?" And he's like, "Nah." And so I'm like, "Okay, no problem." The other guy took one, and then that guy asked for a sticker, so I gave him a big Keith sticker, and then I made little 1-inch, like on accident. When I first ordered them, I got these tiny ones that are like this big. Mm-hmm. And so I go back to the other guy who didn't want a magazine. And I'm like, and you get a little one because you don't fuck with our magazine. And I couldn't tell. I was like, he seems like he's actually not taking this that well. So that was like a little bit of a funny moment. But dude, getting able to talk to Keith and just being like, dude, I think you're doing some really special shit in pinball, like taking some chances and like kind of creating, I don't want to say it's like recreating pinball, but it is kind of like getting these different objectives and mixing and matching and having these crazy flows. Like, dude, like I'll hit 5 or 6 shots in a row on Jaws and combo them in like cool ways where I'm like thinking it's like a line in skateboarding, right? Like I'm seeing all the tricks I'm going to do in a row. And they're even like the, like tying the knot shit, right? Like that's part of that, right? It's like teaching you how to combo stuff. It's like, dude, what game is that is so smart and cool. So for me to be able to just like express that without like fanboying, but just be like, bro, I really fucking appreciate what you're doing, and have him just be like a normal guy and be like, thank you. Like, thanks for noticing it. Like, those are the memories that I'm going to take from this, like, forever, you know, like that was the part of it that was so special to me.
Kale, what about you? Any lasting memories?
Yeah, I mean, just all. I know I sound like a broken record, but all of these people getting together, you know, and it was really cool because when we took a break, the whole team, the pinball influencers, who you know, they brought us lunch, and we had we had pizza from Illuminati's. I guess if you've listened to Canadians, you've already heard what we ate, because he seemed to know the menu before we even got there. Nice. So we had Illuminati's, we had Portillo's, or like in Arizona we like to pronounce it Portillos.
Is that because you're biracial, Kale?
Yeah, exactly. Me and Travis, right?
Yeah, the two biracials. Yes.
So, so when it's time for us to eat, everybody comes out of their cubicles and offices, and all of a sudden you're sitting there, you know, you're eating a slice of pizza, and Keith sits down, or Brian Eddy sits down, and we're all just, and it's all like, you know, no big deal. We're all just like friends and hanging out, and that was so cool. And you know, a really funny part about that. So after we eat, we get on a bus. And this is a total like party bus, completely blacked out, neon lights. It was really funny because the guy who had to find the bus said he had a very hard time finding one that would fit all of us that did not have a stripper pole.
They all want stripper poles, yeah. Like everyone else wants pole. And the first thing that Jason Knapp does when he gets on the bus, he goes, "Where's the pole?"
Yeah. He's a party guy. So, you know, Gary loads us all up on there. He's like, "Okay, is everybody in? Okay, kids, let's do it." And I said, you know, "Hey, are you going to ride with us?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm going to drive myself." So we're cruising down the interstate in this bus, and all of a sudden you see out the corner of my eye, Gary in his convertible flying along the side of us with his hair blowing in the wind. Nice. And we're just like, this scene, he's like leading the pack, you know.
It's straight out of a movie. It truly was. Like, and dude, to reiterate again, like Gary and Seth and George partied the whole night. We were gone like before they were. It was wild to me. It reminded me of something out of Mad Men. I don't know if you've seen that show, but there's like the Christmas episode where they kind of have to sell a client and they're just like there partying like all night long. They did one of those for us, which was rad. Like, dude, and like, I just want to bring this up too, because if we're wrapping this up, like George Gomez like really opened up to me at Logan. It was cool to hear his origin story of like, dude is an immigrant from Cuba, like came to Miami when he's like 3 years old or something, and then moved to Chicago. I think he said before 4th grade or something like that. And like, he's like telling me, I'm like, dude, how did you get into this thing? And he told this great, can I just tell his story? Is that cool? Or
yeah.
He told me, so he's like living at his parents' house, just finishing college. And his mom's like, you need a job. You know, she's this like Cuban mom, like really concerned about him. Like, you absolutely need, like, you're living at home, figure this out. And recommended a headhunter to him, right? Like a corporate headhunter to find him a job. He goes to this headhunter. The guy's like, sees his background. Basically, his background's in design, like some engineering and some kind of art stuff. He has a portfolio. And the guy's like, I don't know what to do with you. Where do you want to work? And I think it was Bally, right? Is that the first place that he was at?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he's like, well, I would love to get an interview at Bally. And so the guy leaves and he comes back like the next day and he calls George and he says, I got you an interview. I don't know how. I don't know anyone there, but the guy's going to be gone for 2 weeks. And so get ready. So George looks at his portfolio and it's all these like class projects. And this is how I know I would fuck with George. Like I told George when he was telling this story, I'm like, you would make a great Nudge contributor because you are a self-starter. And that's the thing that I look for first in Nudge is like, if I can teach you to take pictures, I can teach you to write, I can teach you to shoot video, but I can't teach you wanting to fucking do this stuff. And so what George did with those 2 weeks was he saw his portfolio sucked. He went around to all the arcades in Chicago and redesigned the Bally stuff, how he would design it, right? And so he goes into the interview and he's like, the first guy, he's just an HR guy. He didn't know anything. He's like, but that guy, you know, brings in an engineer. He's like, well, let's look at these things. And the engineer just looks at his stuff. Is like, wow. Leaves, gets his boss. That boss comes in and is like, oh, that's pretty cool. Leaves, gets his boss. This happens like 4 times until it's the head of engineering at Bally looks at his portfolio and is like, hey, let's walk around. Let's talk about this stuff. And he's like, I got the job that day. He's like, I got the job at 3 p.m. I moved out of my parents' house at 4.
Nice.
And he's like, my mom was so sad. She's like, I wanted you to get a job. I didn't want you to move out, you know? And he's like, but I couldn't wait. So, but to me, that was like such a cool, like, dude, to hear the hustle and like, he was like us, you know, like he's I'm thinking that way. Like, I want to pitch those guys on stuff. And they're like, well, we don't really take pitches. I'm like, that's how you started. Like you pitched, you know, like, let me pitch. Like, so I think like hearing that side of the industry and like these young, hungry guys, like who kind of changed gaming, like I'm going to remember that shit for the rest of my life for sure.
Well, before I let you two go, I just want to ask a question. Have either of you pissed in a sink before?
I'm sure I have, but I can't recall
I feel like I'm sure I have too, and there's a reason I can't recall. But yeah, I feel like I have.
Okay. If not, I encouraged people earlier to give it a shot if you haven't in a long time. It's a really freeing feeling. It's just something I try to do once a year.
I love I tell this heartfelt Gomez story, and the next question is, have you ever pissed in a sink? This is Pinball Party. Like, that's the essence of Pinball Party right there. Yeah.
That's Stern.
So thanks for joining. Yeah, Stern, heads up. If you want some of this good shit, you know, we'll piss in your sink.
No one did that while we were there.
Well, okay. Well, that's a gap, you know. Kale, thanks for joining. Go check out Electric Bat Arcade. Doc Monday, as always. Go check out Nudge, Pinball, whatever. It's all out there. Use the web. Find it. Thanks for joining, guys.
Stay in this moment and don't let it out of sight. Hold my hand and erase all the sins in my eyes. Did you bite off more than you could chew? I bet it tastes so good on its own. I got a minute, just a